This is the true face of goblins. They are brutal and driven by desire. Their ways of killing are extremely cruel. When they capture women, they completely lose control. They do not even spare the dead. Wherever they exist, bodies are always left behind. Because of this, Jack truly hates goblins. When Jack was still a child, he saw all of this with his own eyes. Even his own sister was killed by goblins. That painful childhood left Jack with deep wounds. After that, he swore to kill every goblin in the world. Later, after many fights, he became a silver-ranked adventurer. But his goal never changed. He never turns down any mission. Only his younger sister, who works at the Adventurers Guild, truly understands how much Jack has done for the town. She is also one of the survivors of that disaster. Now Jack has new companions, and she feels relieved. After all, fighting together is safer than fighting alone. Unlike goblins that live in caves, large goblin nests usually have scouts guarding the outside. Jack, who has experience, would never make the same low-level mistakes as rookie teams. The nest in front of them was made of trees and dead branches. If they attacked it directly, they could easily fall into traps. But in late autumn, the weather is very dry. All it took was shooting 2 small fire arrows inside. That was enough to kill all the goblins inside. This way was safe and effective. It also allowed Jack to control the direction of the fire by adjusting the range of his shots. As the flames spread quickly, the goblins inside ran toward the exit. But Jack and Annie were already waiting there. When the goblins could no longer endure the heat and tried to escape, Annie used her skill. A shield of light fell instantly and blocked their path. The goblins trapped by the light shield were not so lucky. They were burned alive by the fire inside the nest. They could only scream as they died in pain. This brutal scene made Annie hesitate. The goddess she worships is the most kind and loving god in the world. The skills Annie uses are only for healing and protection. Now she was using a defensive skill to kill enemies. This felt wrong to her, and it filled her with deep guilt. However, whether because of her prayers or not, heavy rain suddenly fell from the sky. Jack, who had sworn to wipe out goblins, entered the nest after the fire went out to finish the job. When all the goblins were finally dead, their mission was complete. This is easily the strongest skill in Goblin Slayer. As long as you still have even a little breath left, it doesn't matter how badly you're hurt, you can recover overnight. It's a miracle-level resurrection ability from the Sword Maiden, and Jack is the only one who has ever experienced it. But the conditions to use it are extremely strict, and only the Sword Maiden can fully unleash it. And as for why Jack ended up on the edge of death, it all started a few days earlier. The Sword Maiden asked Jack to deal with a goblin problem, but when Jack and his team arrived in the royal capital, they couldn't believe goblins could exist in such a grand city. Still, after meeting the Sword Maiden, they finally understood. The goblins had been coming up from the sewers, and they had already caused deaths and panic in the capital. The adventurers sent before them didn't survive at all, so the Sword Maiden had no choice but to ask Jack for help. After Jack got the map, he didn't waste time. They left right away and went down into the underground through a well. Not long after they got down there, they ran into goblins and a fierce fight started, but those goblins were quickly taken out. Then, as they went deeper, the strong stone walls around them reminded Annie of a terrible past. And on top of that, no one expected the goblins down there had already evolved intelligence. They even came at them on a boat. Jack's group was completely shocked. Then, with one order from the goblin leader, a storm of arrows flew toward them. Luckily, Annie had grown after going through many battles. She used a shield spell and blocked the first wave, but the arrows were too many, and she still couldn't hold it for long. Right when the shield shattered, Jack and the others used that moment to counterattack. They jumped down hard and crashed onto the boat, and then the fight began. Jack and his team moved like they were calling names, and they easily took out every goblin. Even though there were a lot of them on that boat, they handled it without any major trouble because they worked well together. But before they could even take a break after so many fights, they heard a strange sound coming from the water. Then a huge splash erupted, and something massive rose up from below. This was easily the most tragic nun in the anime world. From elderly women over 60, to girls who were still underage, none of them escaped the goblins. Even the holy statue of the Virgin Mary cracked because it could not bear the tragedy. Luckily, the goblins staying here were not very strong, so Jack's team wiped them out in one fight. But after checking the damage to the church, Jack was surprised to find something strange. Most of the books in the church had been taken away by the goblins. Only a few ancient books that no one could read, and a stone tablet were left behind. So to learn the secret of the tablet, Jack's team had to go to the temple in the Water City, and ask the Sword Maiden for help. After the last goblin incident, the Sword Maiden had completely fallen in love with Jack, so when she heard the request, she agreed right away, and asked with concern how Jack had been doing. But Jack had no sense of romance at all. After explaining the situation, he planned to leave. He did not notice her feelings at all. The Sword Maiden lost control, and chased after him, asking him not to go, but Jack said no one knew when the goblins would appear again, so he gently turned her down. Even though the Sword Maiden did not want him to leave, she still warned Jack that if he traveled upstream to the Elflands, he had to be careful of goblins. What she did not know was that this trip to the south was not only with his usual teammates. Jack also invited the front desk girl, and the cowgirl from the farm, with the elf, and the priestess already in the team, for beautiful women were now together. After buying wedding gifts, they left the Water City on a wooden raft, and followed the river south. The scenery along the way was beautiful, but Jack never relaxed. Even though they were going to a wedding, he always kept his weapons ready, in case goblins attacked suddenly. To stop the girls from being noticed by goblins, Jack quickly took out cloaks, and put them on them, and sure enough, the next second, countless stones fell from the sky, and flew straight toward Jack and the others on the river.